Hey guys, welcome to Kong Prep Sunday. We're going to talk about a heavy topic, but I'll try to make it quick and light. So what does positive reinforcement and force-free actually mean? We're going to talk about the scientific terms of these things. Just because the industry is so unregulated, a lot of people feel like they can just add this to their website without even really knowing or actually ethically adopting these kind of approaches. So positive reinforcement is an operant conditioning process. There are 4 operant conditioning processes. We're going to talk about positive reinforcement. This is all about operating on contingencies. So dogs are all about producing outcomes. They do what works, and all species do this. So positive reinforcement is adding of something, so positive, adding something the dog finds pleasant and motivating, because over time, the behavior increases. It was reinforced. So positive reinforcement is the adding of something that the dog finds pleasant in hopes that in the future, the behavior increases. So this is at the core of every single dog trainer's first approach. So if we're coming into a house where the dog is doing an undesirable behavior, a lot of the times, any type of dog behavior is unpleasant to us, but very, very enjoyable to the dog, like chewing and barking and peeing and all that kind of stuff. We hop on the positive reinforcement bandwagon very, very first. The second we get in the door, we are looking for something that we can reinforce. And usually it's reinforcing an opposite behavior because the dog at the end of the day needs to do something. So can we find something that is not so annoying, not so unpleasant to the owner, but still very reinforcing for the dog? That's what positive reinforcement is and why it's so important. When you're hiring a dog trainer, they adopt this approach. Positive reinforcement is the dog operating on these outcomes and producing consequences, and that's something that they want, they find very motivating, and it is at the foundation of all trick training and obedience training. I hate that word. We're gonna have to do another segment on Kong Prep Sunday on the word obedience, but for now, we'll just stick with that. So what does force-free mean? We do have to touch our dog. We need to restrain them. They need to get needles from the vet. They need to get pills. We need to sometimes put them in the bathtub, and we might have to like hold them certain ways and grab them and stuff like that. So it isn't about not touching our dogs. Force-free is about developing training plans that are not meant to be forceful in the process of building behaviors. So positive reinforcement doesn't use force, right? It is providing consequences the dog finds desirable. But there are other operant conditioning processes that we haven't talked about that do use force. And these things are aversive because at the end of the day, the dog is doing these behaviors to avoid something that's maybe unpleasant. So force-free is ensuring that we are utilizing positive reinforcement first and foremost, and we're ensuring that anytime we do have to touch our dog in certain kind of life-saving events, the dog finds it pleasant. I do talk about this in a previous Kong Prep Sunday about touching your dog, so you guys can hop on that and watch that. If you just click on the little icon in the screen here, I'll have the link for that, about getting your dog to like being touched. And in a lot of situations where you do need to use force, but your dog can really find it enjoyable. So with regards to the word force-free, I love it because it is getting dog trainers and clients to start thinking about why and the reasons of them needing to touch their dog. I want to dive into errorless learning. So a lot of times people tried positive reinforcement and it didn't work. Okay, that is a really common misconception with a lot of clients and stuff like that, because it's not just about giving your dog treats and thinking that it's going to work. I know, do you want one? So positive reinforcement didn't work for you. I totally get it. At the end of the day, it's more than just this contingency of giving your dog a treat every time they do something that you like. Sometimes we need to scale back and figure out what your dog can do now and slowly, incrementally build up to that desired behavior at the end, the terminal behavior. And this is an approach called errorless learning. So almost at every single step, our dog is never going to fail. So your trainer has to be really crafty on developing a training plan that always sets your dog up for success. Also, there's ways to manage the environment around us too, to make sure our dog is, one, finds the thing that we have very motivating to work for, and two, the environment could actually make a training plan more difficult because there's more distractions, more competing motivators and things like that. And then also there could be things in that environment the dog finds very scary and unpleasant too. So now training this behavior is scary because it's paired with, scary things in the environment. Maybe that stranger or that person walking with a shopping cart or something like that. I love the idea of force-free. We're not applying any force for your dog to comply, to submit, to avoid, or whatever in the sake of training a behavior. But I further want to implement errorless learning when we are tackling things with positive reinforcement, because we'll get more bang for our buck. And we won't have this situation where I tried positive reinforcement and it didn't work. When we are shopping for a dog trainer, understanding these terms and what they actually mean is really important. So then you are, one, not going to waste your money. And two, you can definitely set your dog up for success and make sure that they're really happy at the end of the day. So recap. Positive reinforcement is a contingency of a dog increasing that behavior because it's contingent on really pleasant things that they want. So they're like, oh, I want that. I'm going to just do more of this to get that. So it's an outcome. It's contingency. It is a process. It is your dog operating its environment to produce consequences that they find desirable. However, we only talked about positive reinforcement. There are 3 other operant conditioning processes that we didn't chat about. That's for another, YouTube series. And then we are talking about force-free, right? At the end of the day, we do have to touch our dog. So I'm all about you needing to do that, but can we make our dog happy? So click on the icon. You guys can go check out Touching Your Dog compact series that I did on getting your dog to like being touched, restrained, grabbed, and all that kind of stuff. And then we talk about errorless learning, right? And at the end of the day, positive reinforcement didn't work for you. Let's dive into having a confident training plan, making sure it starts where your dog can be successful and builds incrementally to your final behavior that you want, using positive reinforcement. The contingency is not just about being, super nice to your dog the whole way through and making sure you talk to them in a pleasant way. It is a process of dogs producing really great outcomes. All right. And then also managing that environment. This is just all the umbrella of errorless learning, right? A concise training plan, managing the environment around you, and then a principle I didn't really chat about, which will be for another Kong Prep Sunday, is extinction, making sure the dog is no longer getting reinforced for those undesirable behaviors, which can be really hard. Don't get too hopped up on shopping for trainers, seeing that they use positive reinforcement and force-free, and just take their word on it. The industry is unregulated. It is very murky out there, and a lot of times people don't actually understand the science behind these terms, let alone even applying it into the dog training world. So hopefully you guys come away with this video being a more aware consumer, and also maybe it changes your thought around training your dog. So if you guys want to learn more, I talk more about this in my online course about how to train a trick. I dive into a lot of the ethics of dog training in that course, because positive reinforcement is the foundation of trick training. You know what? I'm not here to pick out any type of balance or dominance or alpha theory trainers. I am here just to provide awareness to consumers, to anyone who wants to try it out and see if it works for them and works for their dog. And I want to thank you so much. So hit subscribe and give it a thumbs up and share with a friend or family member, and definitely go check out my online course on how to train a trick. And there'll be more courses eventually soon. They're very hard to construct and get together. Making sure I say all the things correctly because I myself am still learning as well. And so any positive reinforcement you guys can give me would be much appreciated. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.